Hello, this is day 57 of reading one canto of the Divine Comedy every day. We are on Purgatorio, Canto 23, which I will read from the Longfellow translation before giving some quick comments. The while among the verdant leaves mine eyes I riveted, as he is wont to do who wastes his life pursuing little birds. My more than father said unto me, Son, come now, because the time that is ordained us more usefully should be apportioned out. I turned my face, and no less soon my steps unto the sages, who were speaking so they made the going of no cost to me. And lo, were heard a song and a lament, Labia mea domine, in fashion such that delight and dolence it brought forth. O my sweet father, what is this I hear? Began I, and he answered, Shades that go, perhaps the knot unloosing of their debt. In the same way that thoughtful pilgrims do, who, unknown people on the road overtaking, turn themselves round to them and do not stop, even thus, behind us with a swifter motion, coming and passing onward, gazed upon us a crowd of spirits, silent and devout. Each in his eyes was dark and cavernous, pallid in face, and so emaciate that from the bones the skin did shape itself. I do not think that so to merest rind could Erisichthon have been withered up by famine, when most fear he had of it. Thinking within myself, I said, Behold, this is the folk who lost Jerusalem, when Mary made a prey of her own son. Their sockets were like rings without the gems. Whoever in the face of men reads Omo might well in these have recognized the M. Who would believe the odor of an apple, begetting longing, could consume them so, and that of water, without knowing how? I still was wondering what so famished them, for the occasion not yet manifest of their emaciation and sad squalor. And lo, from out the hollow of his head his eyes a shade turned on me, and looked keenly, then cried aloud, What grace to me is this? Never should I have known him by his look, but in his voice was evident to me that which his aspect had suppressed within it. This spark within me wholly re-enkindled my recognition of his altered face, and I recalled the features of Forese. Ah, do not look at this dry leprosy, entreated he, which doth my skin discolor, nor at default of flesh that I may have, but tell me truth of thee, and who are those two souls that yonder make for thee an escort? Do not delay in speaking unto me. That face of thine, which dead I once bewept, gives me for weeping now no lesser grief, I answered him, beholding it so changed. But tell me, for God's sake, what thus denudes you? Make me not speak while I am marveling, for ill speaks he who's full of other longings. And he to me, From the eternal counsel falls power into the water and the tree behind us left, whereby I grow so thin. All of this people who lamenting sing, for following beyond measure appetite in hunger and thirst, are here re-sanctified. Desire to eat and drink enkindles in us the scent that issues from the apple tree, and from the spray that sprinkles over the verdure. And not a single time alone, this ground encompassing, is refreshed our pain. I say our pain, and ought to say our solace, for the same wish doth lead us to the tree which led the Christ, rejoicing to say, Eloi, when with his veins he liberated us. And I to him, Forese, from that day when for a better life thou changest worlds, up to this time 5 years have not rolled round. If sooner were the power exhausted in thee of sinning more, than thee the hour surprised of that good sorrow which to God reweds us. How hast thou come up hitherward already? I thought to find thee down there underneath, where time for time doth restitution make. And he to me, Thus speedily has led me to drink of the sweet wormwood of these torments, my Nella with her overflowing tears. She with her prayers devout and with her sighs has drawn me from the coast where one awaits, and from the other circles set me free. So much more dear and pleasing is to God my little widow, whom so much I loved, as in good works she is the more alone. For the Barbagia of Sardinia by far more modest in its women is than the Barbagia I have left her in. O brother sweet, what wilt thou have me say? A future time is in my sight already, to which this hour will not be very old, when from the pulpit shall be interdicted to the unblushing womankind of Florence to go about displaying breast and paps, What savages were ever, what Saracens who stood in need to make them covered go of spiritual or other discipline. But if the shameless women were assured of what swift heaven prepares for them, already wide open would they have their mouths to howl. For if my foresight here deceive me not, they shall be sad ere he has bearded cheeks, who now is hushed to sleep with lullaby. O brother, now no longer hide thee from me. See that not only I, but all these people are gazing there, where thou dost veil the sun. Whence I to him, if thou bring back to mind what thou with me hast been, and I with thee, the present memory will be grievous still. Out of that life he turned me back, who goes in front of me, 2 days agone, when round the sister of him yonder showed herself. And to the sun I pointed. Through the deep night of the truly dead has this one led me, with this true flesh that follows after him. Thence his encouragements have led me up, ascending and still circling round the mount that you doth straiten, whom the world made crooked. He says that he will bear me company, till I shall be where Beatrice will be, there it behoves me to remain without him. This is Virgilius, who thus says to me, and him I pointed at, the other is that shade for whom just now shook every slope your realm, that from itself discharges him. After passing the tree with the abundant fruit and the water spray coming off of it that seems to just make you more hungry, Virgil, Statius, and Dante finally arrive and find the souls of the gluttonous themselves, who look really skinny, like they're really hungry, which I found really odd because they're spirits. They don't actually hunger. They don't need any food, so how could they possibly look starving? And this is a question that Dante has as well. He asks the first soul that he recognizes, or rather that recognizes him, that same question, and learns that the answer is, it's the tree. The divine will coming through that tree inspires hunger and thirst in them, and thus causes them to look that way. I find it oddly fitting that this presumably physical fruit is capable of inspiring such desire and such hunger in these souls such that it actually makes them look hungry, because even though they're not actually going to die of starvation, because in the Catholic Church there's a belief in the unity of the body and the soul. The one and the other are conjoined. A human being is not its body and it's not its soul. It is only when both of them are together. And so you can't really divorce the one from the other. As a human being, you can't try to say, I am not my body, or like my body is not mine, I'm not at home in it. That shows that there's something wrong with your sense of self. God made you as body and soul, and he wants you to, to be who you are in that. There's nothing, there can't be souls in the wrong bodies, there can't be bodies with wrong souls. You are both. You are both at once. And what follows from that, of course, is that you can improve and affect your spirit through the actions that you take with your body. I mean, part of that's just free will, but even in satisfying the desires of the body for food, for comforts, whatever, you can affect your soul. And the reverse is also true, that improvements in your soul might find themselves manifest on your body. There's more examples of this when we get to paradise, and so I'll explain it more then. Suffice to say that these souls look hungry, not because they're dying of starvation and they're gonna fall over at any second, but because the desire for food that so ruled them on earth is now manifest on their very souls, because they are a body-soul unity. They did allow that bodily desire to rule their souls, where it should have been tempered by the soul. And yet the fasting, the hunger that these souls endure, according to Forese, Dante's friend here, is definitely not all bad. He says it's both pain and solace. Why? Well, as the tree said, there are many examples of saints and holy people who, through fasting, gained a greater appreciation for the higher goods, who gained the ability to see visions, who were able to get closer to God. In fact, this ability of fasting is so well known that the Catholic Church celebrates a yearly great fast. It's called Lent. This is true of any virtue, but it's interesting that the duality of pain and solace talked about here is part of the name of temperance. temperance, as in heating and cooling a metal, putting it through hell so that it gets stronger. That's all for today, though. I'll see you tomorrow.